Many Shades of Pink and Black Health.
Welcome to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBLK sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Sherrill, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Affallo, and our special guest today is Mr. Lester McCurtis, a holistic health practitioner, and our topic today is Mac's Herb Talk. So, Mr. Mac.
Hi.
Hey, tell us a welcome, number one. To
Yeah,
our show.
welcome.
You are our first guest for 2018.
Yes.
Hey, excited to be here and very appreciative that you all are having me as your first guest. And my father is still living. I lost my mother to heart disease, which at one time made me become an advocate and supporter of those to either prevent heart disease or help them manage it.
Okay. So, can I ask you a question? What caused you to make that lifestyle change in going into the natural holistic health?
Well, it all started with kidney disease. I was diagnosed with nephrotic syndrome. And I was driving from California to Virginia to see a friend of mine.
Okay.
And it just devastated me. While I was driving along, I think I was somewhere around Indiana, I just looked down at my feet and I noticed they were swelling up. My feet were swelling up so big it looked like I had elephantitis.
Wow.
I mean, and it just kept going up my ankles, up my legs, my thighs. I mean, before I knew it, I started out weighing 150 pounds. In 48 hours, I was weighing 270 pounds.
Wow.
And this was, I was like 25. It was in the prime of my life, I feel. I mean, I was really into partying and getting out there. I was eating probably anything that you put on a plate and drinking everything except water. Water was something I didn't drink. I drank Kool-Aid, I drank soda, I drank tea, milk, anything except plain water. And that's what really it just devastated me.
So that means that you was eating everything on a pig.
Oh, pig and more. It wasn't too many things I would refuse and during that time.
Okay.
So what I did, this was such a shock to me, I just couldn't believe it. I said, I cannot accept this. I will not accept this. And that was my start into holistic health. Mentally, I prepared myself and I said, I cannot accept this. And by following along with that, I reinforced it by not buying any clothes to fit me because I could not no longer fit into my pants. I had to buy new shoes because my feet couldn't fit in them. I refused to buy any clothes that would fit me properly. So I just wore vests. I had vests and I had jackets. So when I was able to get out of the hospital, because I stayed in the hospital 2 months, but I basically stayed in the bed almost a month with this kidney disease. And I was in the Navy at the time, Portsmouth Naval Hospital.
So what was the plan after that when you actually worked yourself back to some health and being in the hospital 2 months? What was the plan after that to prevent you from having problems with your kidneys again?
Well, I took the long, slow path, I guess, that most people don't like, especially Americans don't like to take. I did it the long, hard way. First, when I was able to get out of my bed, because I had all kinds of questions to my doctors. Why did this happen to me? How did this happen to me? You know, what caused this to happen to me? And they didn't have the answers that I wanted to hear. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go in and get my own answers. I went into Portsmouth Naval Hospital Medical Library where the doctors go and they research stuff, and I started learning about my illness, nephrotic syndrome. And after getting out of the hospital, being on, like you say, diuretics, I was on water pills, I was on prednisone. It took about 2 years. I was on prednisone and going through all the side effects of it. before I really could start doing anything else to change my life. But the start was in the Naval Hospital there in Portsmouth, reading about nephrotic syndrome. And once I got out, I learned that water, stress, number one, was the cause of my illness, and not drinking enough water. So I said, from this day on, I am going to have a bottle of water. Everywhere I go, I got to have a bottle of water. Mm-hmm. And that is what I feel caused my illness or disease. And I just kept going from there. I learned about health and natural health because that was something that I felt. So I ended up moving on, and a friend of mine at church, I was living in Los Angeles, and a friend of mine introduced me to Nature's Sunshine products, and I started learning about herbs through them. And at that time, Nature's Sunshine products had all kinds of schools, seminars, and ways that you can learn about the body and how herbs affect the body. And not only with what they had, I had an upline manager that really schooled us and helped us and taught us about the herbs in the body, because she was a retired teacher.
I have a question. Can you tell our audience what is a holistic practitioner?
A holistic practitioner is a person that practices alternative or natural medicine by means of using the entire body, the whole body. That's what holistic practitioners do. If you say have a cold, let's take like Wendy was saying, she felt a little congested.
Yeah.
So
my head.
Instead of just saying, okay, here, take these aspirins, 2 aspirins or whatever, or cold medicine, and see me tomorrow, as a holistic practitioner, we would sit down and have a very in-depth conversation and find out, okay, how were you feeling before you noticed this going on in your head, Wendy? Or how do you sleep at night? Or we would talk about things, how has your life changed since, you've had this head congestion? Mm-hmm. And we would take all of those things, and it's like a real long assessment that you do. And we'd write those things down, and that would help us to get to how we're going to give her a remedy to help that congestion.
Okay. So it seems like how you do the long survey or the in-depth of asking the person the questions is similar to how a regular medical family doctor would assess a patient.
Somewhat.
So
I think we go probably a little bit more in depth, because I've never had my doctors ask me like how was I feeling the night before, or get into anything about my activities with my friends or family or things like that. Especially something like a cold.
You haven't seen Dr. Affallo then.
Okay.
I was going to say, just as all holistic providers are not equal, neither are all healthcare physicians and nurse practitioners and physician assistants are equal. So there are some that I wouldn't even go to myself. But
right.
There are some that truly care, and they do want to take a good in-depth history and get more information. What we'll do is, since we're tapping into this, we should probably, because I want to dive into it more deeply, because you still haven't told us what a pescatarian is. But
exactly.
I want
to know that.
Skated around all that. But what we'll do is we'll take our break, and then we'll come back, and that's the first question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, because we want him to really explain that to our audience.
Right, exactly.
Okay, no problem.
So you've been listening to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBLK.
Welcome back to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBLKradio.com, sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Sherrill, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Affallo. We're having such a heated conversation with Mr. Lester McCurtis, who is a holistic health practitioner. That was on the break, of course. And our topic today is Max Herb Talk. So I know Sister Wendy wanted to get us back into the rhythm.
What a pescatarian, I think.
We'll start with what is
Okay, a pescatarian basically is a type of vegetarian that eats only fish as a meat. The only meat that I eat is fish. Everything else that I eat basically is vegetables, grains, things of that sort. But I eat no other meat except fish. So that makes me a pescatarian. And I also say I was a raw foodie, which means raw or live food is the type of food that's not cooked. So let's say, for instance, I like this dish which is called a cucumber salad. The cucumber salad is basically either organic cucumber or a regular cucumber sliced up, mixed in with apple cider vinegar. Usually I use Bragg's apple cider vinegar. And then I may throw some olive oil in there and, of course, lemon. And then I may put some herbs in there. That's basically raw food, food that isn't cooked. And there's a number of different types of dishes that I could talk about and get into, but I think these ladies want to go another route right now.
Well, also, what can you tell our audience when you say fish? Can you give them the different types of fish that you eat?
Oh, but of course.
Yeah.
Mostly, I try to eat cold water fish.
Okay.
Because cold water fish are the best type of fish to eat. For example, I don't eat catfish because catfish are scavengers. They tread around the bottom of the ocean, eat all of the junk or the waste that other fish and other creatures of the sea put out. So I don't want to put that crap in my body. The same with other types of fish or creatures like crabs and
shoot, crab good.
Crabs and shrimp and lobster. All of them crawl around on the bottom of the ocean, and they all eat the junk, the feces of other fish and other animals in the ocean. So I don't want to put that in my body. So when you eat cold water fish tend to have a very high amount of omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids are very good for the body. I'm sure Dr. Affallo can attest, let's say arthritis. So that's why I eat cold water fish.
Okay, I want you to give
and
them
also
some
the way
examples.
I prepare.
Some examples.
Okay,
give them the names of these cold water fish.
Okay, cold water fish, for example, are trout, which I love, cod, roughy, all the types of roughy. You get orange roughy.
Orange roughy, I like. That's one of my favorites.
And there's a lot more halibut, tuna. You can get into salmon. But nowadays they're doing a lot of farming, and you have to be careful of farm fish. So I say cold water fish, and if you want to go a step further, you get wild caught. Because wild caught, you know, they're not farmed. And the thing with farming, they get into using antibiotics and different things to keep the bacteria down in the pool where they farm them. And you know, you have to be careful of that because they're using all of these chemicals on the fish and farmed fish. So I stay away from farmed and use wild caught and just make sure they're cold water. And as long as you're broiling or baking your fish, that's the best way to cook it. But the ultimate way I feel to cook it is in a jet stream oven. I use a jet stream or a new wave oven because it only cooks your food with warm air. And that way you're not putting the different oils, you're not deep frying. Funny thing, when I went to see my cousin in Ohio, she told me, "Oh, I got this fish place you just gotta love. Oh, you gotta love it." And I said, "Cuz, you know, maybe not." She said, "Oh, come on, let's go." And she didn't understand that I don't deep fry my fish. And of course, they was handing out deep fried fish dinners by the hundreds. And I said, I can't eat here. And she said, maybe they'll bake it. And I asked them, "Do y'all bake or grill your fish?" And they said, "No." And I said, "Okay, see, this is why I didn't want to come here."
Okay, well, we're going to dive in. Your
deep.
perspective on what's your medicine versus holistic medicine. So I want your views on it, and then I'm going to ask my dear sister here her take on it.
Okay. Well, I'll go back, I guess, and start with, like I said, when I was in the military and I saw a lot of doctors because I had a lot of different ailments and things. And most of the military doctors that I saw only gave me drugs. They gave me so many drugs, I became hooked on downers. I was taking Percocet, I was taking codeine #3, and it's something else I was taking. All of these at the same time I was prescribed because I had been in a few car accidents and I had serious, massive headaches. I believe they call them vascular headaches. And actually that was kind of a turn for me at that time when I went to the different doctors to try to get rid of these headaches. And one of them said, you know what, I'm going to do something for you that's a little different. And they introduced me to this medical doctor that practiced hypnosis. And that medical doctor, which was a Navy doctor, and I couldn't believe it, showed me basically how to relax myself and stop my headaches before they even started. This was back in 1984. Since then, I have never had a headache since 1984. I learned how to relax my body and stop a headache before it even came on. And I had vascular headaches. So that is another thing in my life that really just catapulted me to alternative or natural medicine. Now, I know there are some good medical doctors out there, like Dr. Affallo. Unfortunately, I didn't have her to see when I was in the Navy.
Okay, but
so that's my short take on that, just that with headaches.
Okay, so would you consider holistic herbs or natural healing as self-healing?
No, it's not self-healing at all, and it really shouldn't be. Being a practitioner myself, I know I did a lot of things trial and error coming up. I did a lot of trial and error. I did a lot of experimenting, self-care, like you say, on my own, and I really wouldn't recommend that because you can actually kill yourself. I mean, the plant world, herbs are plants, and there are poisonous, dangerous plants out there, right? So no, I don't believe and I don't recommend self-care. There are a lot of home remedies that people talk about. I used to use a lot of home remedies, and I tend to recommend people to go to someone, a practitioner that is experienced, have knowledge about these different home remedies or herbs or different things that you want to use, because they're going to be able to guide you and help prevent you from making some fatal mistakes or mistakes that will just cause you a lot of time. I tell people, some of my family members who are very resistant sometimes to some of my herbs and the way I practice, I say, you know, you spent, what, a month trying to get rid of the flu, and I got rid of it in 24 hours. 24 hours. That's because I know what herbs to use. I know what modalities or different things that I need to do than the average person. You know, and I'm saying, you, all this money you've lost from work, you've been out for a month, and if you had came to me, I could have had you back within like 2 or 3 days.
Okay, sis, what's your take on this Western medicine versus holistic natural health?
Okay. I'm going to take a deep breath.
Okay.
So I think everything has its place. Okay. I think there are times when Western medicine is important because when, and I was going to ask Mr. Lester Mack, that when you find a client that is not responding to the herbs and they're having significant health issues, you know, do you then refer them to traditional Western medicine? Because there are times I would not want someone to walk around with high blood pressure that's out of control. That's obviously not doing the right things, but if they're doing all the right things of eating properly, exercising, managing their weight, doing all what they need to do, trying herbal supplements, and their blood pressure is still running at 170/100, I believe that medications are necessary before they have a stroke or a heart attack.
Right.
So I find that in different situations, depending on the patient or client that you're treating, if one tradition does not work, by all means try something else. Anytime a patient came to me and they wanted to try their garlic and their cinnamon and their whatever, I allowed that. I'm like, sure, no problem. Because you need buy-in from the patient.
Right.
So I never poo-pooed anything because I believe in holistic, but there is a time, that's why Western medicine is there, because there is a time, an appropriate time for it to be used. And so I allow the patients to try anything they want to try, their apple cider vinegar, anything that's not going to be toxic to them. And, you know, anything else they want to do, doc, let me try this. Sure, no problem. Well, here's what we'll negotiate. If you try this for X couple weeks, come back in and just have a blood pressure checked, and then come back a couple more weeks and see, and let's monitor your blood pressure. If your blood pressure is not going down, would you consider, and we've tried all the lifestyle changes, because I
Right.
believe more and before throwing a medicine at them,
The lifestyle change, right.
But people do not commit to that. They're not well disciplined.
Right.
So you have to meet them where they are. Okay?
Right. I believe
So
in
if you
that.
try all of that, because I'm more conservative, truly, if anyone knows me knows that I rather them change their diet, exercise, eat properly, and really only drink water. But